Nobody talks about the loneliness of a sharp mind, not the kind that comes from being alone, the kind that comes from being in a room full of people and still feeling like you're the only one actually there. That specific feeling, present in body, absent in connection, is one of the most quietly painful experiences linked to extremely high intelligence. And it's just the beginning. Here's what psychology actually says about what it feels like to think at that level. The conversations that energize most people leave you flat. Not because you're arrogant, not because you think you're better, but because your brain is built for depth and most social interaction lives on the surface. You show up, you participate, you smile at the right moments, but somewhere underneath all of it, you're waiting for something that never quite arrives. A conversation that actually goes somewhere. A moment where someone says something that makes you lean forward instead of quietly disconnect. That waiting gets exhausting. And because you're intelligent enough to mask it perfectly, nobody around you even knows it's happening. Then there's the frustration nobody gives you permission to feel. You walk into a situation, and within minutes you can see the broken system, the wasted step, the obvious solution that three people have walked past without noticing. And you have two choices: say something and risk looking impatient or arrogant, or say nothing and carry the quiet irritation of watching preventable problems repeat themselves. Psychology is clear that higher analytical processing makes inefficiency genuinely harder to tolerate. This isn't a personality flaw. It's your brain doing exactly what it was built to do, just in environments that weren't designed for it. And when you finally get home, when the day is done and your body is ready to stop, your mind doesn't get the message. It keeps running. It replays conversations, builds new frameworks, finds patterns in things that happened 3 days ago, starts solving problems that don't need to be solved until next week. Psychology shows that highly active cognition makes genuine mental stillness rare. Rest for most people means the brain quiets down. Rest for you means the body stops while the mind keeps its shift going. You wake up tired in ways that sleep doesn't fully fix. When you try to explain any of this, something else happens. You know precisely what you mean internally. The thought is clear, complete, fully formed. But the moment you translate it into words for someone else, something gets lost. They hear a different version of what you said. They respond to that version. And you're left nodding along to a conversation about something you didn't quite say. Psychology describes this as the compression problem. When abstract, layered thinking has to be flattened into everyday language. The original meaning rarely survives the translation intact. So you start simplifying yourself. You edit before you speak. And over time, people think they know you well, while the real version of your thinking stays almost entirely private. And then you achieve something. Something you worked toward. Something that genuinely required effort and intelligence and time. And the satisfaction lasts maybe a day, maybe less, because your mind has already moved. It's already building the next thing, already measuring what's still missing, already bored by the victory it just earned. Psychology links this to high novelty drive. The brain habituates to success quickly and immediately begins searching for the next level of stimulation. This isn't ingratitude. It's the same engine that drove the achievement in the first place. It just doesn't know how to stop once the flag is planted. What makes all of this so invisible is that intelligence is also armor. You're competent enough to appear fine. You're articulate enough to seem unbothered. You're self-aware enough to manage everything internally before it ever shows on the outside. So the people around you see someone sharp, capable, and in control. They don't see the loneliness inside the crowded room. They don't see the mental fatigue that rest doesn't cure. They don't see the version of you that never quite gets to be fully understood. The sharpest minds often carry the quietest weight, not because they're broken, but because the world hasn't quite caught up to how they experience it. Which one of these hit closest to something you've never been able to explain out loud? Tell us below, and if this is the kind of psychology you've been looking for, honest, deep, and without oversimplification, subscribe. This is where that conversation lives.